Hey guys, today I'm doing a very exciting video, or I feel is very exciting. I'm doing a comparison video of the Urban Decay Smoked Palette versus the Urban Decay Naked Smoky. Now, for those of you who have not seen this, this is a newer palette that just came out like a month ago. So I don't know if that's still new or not. I think it's still new. So I bought this. I'm not really doing like swatches and reviews and all that other stuff of either of these palettes. But I'm just gonna kind of compare them. If you have this one, do you need this one? Which one do I like better? If you saw my favorite eyeshadow palettes video, I talked about this being like my all-time, not my all-time favorite, but in my top 5 favorite eyeshadow palettes. So this one has some high standards that this one needs to live up to. I'll let you know which one I like better, and just my overall thoughts on both these palettes and how they compare and whatever else. So, let's just get into everything. First off, I'm gonna just give you kind of a quick little mini review of the Naked Smoky palette. Gonna be honest, I'm probably gonna get a lot of flack for this, but this is actually my least favorite Naked palette. And I feel so bad saying that because it's new and it's like so exciting, but it is my least favorite Naked palette. Here's why. Now, as far as packaging goes, it's my favorite. I love the packaging on this thing. First of all, it's super cute. It has like the smoke in the background and the back case is kind of translucent or transparent, and it has a magnetic closure, which is very nice, and a really nice big mirror. So, the packaging on this, 10 out of 10, right? But the eyeshadows themselves is where my issue lies. Now, the quality is great, don't get me wrong. It's the typical Urban Decay quality that we all expect and love from Urban Decay. But my issue is that these eyeshadows, there's nothing really unique in here. I'm just gonna give a little up-close little pan of all of the eyeshadows. Now, Urban Decay describes this palette as having 4 matte eyeshadows, 4 more satin eyeshadows. I'm going to try and cover up this mirror. And then 4 more shimmery eyeshadows. My opinion, there's 4 matte, 4 more shimmery, well, somewhat satin, somewhat shimmery, and then these 4 on the end are glittery. And I'm not a huge fan of glittery eyeshadows. I can deal with them, but they're not my favorite. So that's more of a personal preference thing. But there's actually one eyeshadow in here I despise because it's pretty, but you get so much fallout, so you really have to be careful when you're using it, or else you're gonna end up with like glitter all on your cheeks. And unless you're going for like Kesha circa 2007 look, you don't want that on your face. Another issue I have with this palette is that out of the 4 mattes here, I'm happy they have a matte cream color, and I'm happy they kind of have this like pinky beigey shade that makes like a decent transitioning shade. It does not even show up on my skin tone. Okay. I wish that they had included a matte transitioning shade that was maybe a little bit darker than this pinky beige shade, just because I feel like it would suit more skin tones. Now, the other 2 mattes in here, Password and Whiskey, are really beautiful. I'm actually using, I used this palette today for my look today. I kind of did like an outer corner smoky eye. It's very neutral and just really nice, and I'm thinking about doing a tutorial on this. Let me know if you'd like to see one or not. Just because I've seen a lot of tutorials with this palette, and they're really pretty, but they're all super dramatic. And, you know, I like a good smoky eye, but I like a good neutral eye too. You know what I mean? And the thing is with this particular palette is you have to like gray smoky eyes in order to like this palette. There isn't a whole lot of diversity in this palette. Now, I'm not completely bashing this palette because the quality is amazing and there are some really exceptional eyeshadows in here, but overall, it's nothing new and unique. If you have a large eyeshadow palette collection, you would own eyeshadows like this already. The only thing that isn't really in the gray, smoky range or a neutral is the shade, what is this, Smolder? It's like a deep purple color, and it looks pretty, but when you swatch it, up close it looks like a plum, but when you swatch it and from afar, it just kind of looks like a brownish gray. Like it doesn't really, and when you apply it to your eyes, it doesn't really look purple. It looks more like a gray, and that's kind of my issue with this palette. Now, there are some beautiful shades in here. Like the Mattes Password and Whiskey are incredible, and I really like High and Dirty Sweet. Even though they're a little more on the glittery side, they're really pretty, and I so love the fact that Urban Decay did not include a matte black. And I'm not being sarcastic, I'm being totally serious, because I swear, I own more matte black eyeshadows than I will ever need. I probably have enough for like 7 lifetimes. And I don't use matte blacks that often, so that's why they're never really a necessity for me in palettes. And plus, every other palette comes with them, so I like the fact that this comes with, this is more of a satin finish black, which I like. It's pretty close to a matte black, but it's not quite matte black, and I love that because I'm so done with every palette having a matte black. So that is the shade Black Market. I love it. I think it's beautiful and pigmented and amazing. So definitely good job, Urban Decay, not including a matte black, because I think everyone that is an eyeshadow lover owns at least 10 matte black eyeshadows. Now, the Urban Decay Naked Smoked is no longer available, which breaks my heart, because this palette was incredible. And I should have seen this coming, that when they discontinued it, they were gonna release a new smoky palette, because they discontinued this one like a couple months ago, and then this one came out. So, yeah. There was a period of time where you could have gotten this discounted at like Sephora and Ulta and Urban Decay's website. Now, the reason this is one of my favorite eyeshadow palettes of all time is for 3 eyeshadows in here that I think are exceptional. They are beautifully pigmented. They're great for like a one shadow look all over your lid and through your crease. They are 3 of my all-time favorite eyeshadows, and that would be Mushroom, which is this beautiful shimmery kind of gray silver metallic taupey shade. Then we have Barlust, which is a really pretty shimmery, rich, warm brown, and Rockstar, which is a pretty shimmery, jewel-toned grape purple color. Those eyeshadows are some of my favorite eyeshadows ever, and I think they're amazing. Now, as far as the similarities go in this palette, I think that if you own this palette, there's enough differences. There's a couple of similarities, which I'll show you in a second, but there are enough differences in this palette compared to this palette where if you own this one and you wanted to buy this one, you could get this one and you would have different looks. But that being said, if you are an avid eyeshadow palette collector, chances are you already have eyeshadows that are just like this. 1, 2, 3. Now, with the Naked Smoky palette compared to the Smoked palette, which, can I just say, why did they call it a Naked palette? Why couldn't they just call it the Smoky palette? There is nothing in here that sticks with the whole Naked palette theme. Like, I don't understand that, but that's just me. This particular palette, even though it's smoky, you have some neutrals, but you also have some really pretty jewel tone colors. Now, I am not one to rock a blue or a green eyeshadow ever, but I love these eyeshadows. This is Evidence and Loaded. I love these eyeshadows because they're pigmented and they're like beautiful, and because they're more jewel toned, I feel like that makes them more wearable versus if they were like super bright, you know what I mean? So I wish that the Urban Decay Smoky palette had a little more diversity in that way, where you get a lot of grays in here, which it's nice, and you get this purple that doesn't really come out as a true purple unless you really packed it on. But if you just applied it lightly to your eyes, it's gonna look more gray than purple, if that makes sense, more neutral. I just wish that shades like Rockstar, Evidence, or Loaded, which are the purple, the blue, and the green in this palette, were incorporated in this palette. And I think jewel tones in this palette would incorporate really nicely with all the other colors. Now, as far as similarities, we have 13 in the Naked Smoky palette and Kinky in the Smoked palette. They're kind of both your light kind of beigey cream colors. Then the shade Freestyle in this palette, the Smoked palette, is very similar to Combust. And I figured since Urban Decay was coming out with this palette, I thought that they were going to use, instead of Combust, a shade that was a little bit darker so you could use it for blending easier, because I know a lot of people had that issue when this palette came out with the fact that this wasn't a little bit darker to use for transitioning shades. So this one is Combust and this one is Freestyle. Combust is a little bit darker than the Smoked, than the Freestyle eyeshadow, which is in the Smoked palette. I'm also going to compare the shades Slanted, Armor, and Mushroom, just so you could see how those 3 look together. I would say Armor and Mushroom are probably the closest to each other. And Mushroom is one of my favorite eyeshadows ever, like I said, but Armor is more sparkly and has more of that chunky glitter. That's why I'm not too crazy about the eyeshadow. The eyeshadow itself is pretty, but it's just a real pain in the neck to apply. You know what I'm saying? It's just Smolder, which is the purple in the Naked Smoky palette, versus the purple in the Smoked palette, which is Rockstar. So as you can tell, Smolder, this is Rockstar on my middle finger here, and on my pointer finger is Smolder. And as you can tell, Smolder definitely looks more gray than purple. As far as overall thoughts on both of these palettes go, I would say that I definitely prefer the Smoked palette, and I'm sad that Urban Decay discontinued it. Hopefully you can buy these eyeshadows in single pan form. I'll have to double check. I will let you know in the description box below if you can, because if there's any eyeshadows in here that you thought were really pretty that you wanted to pick up, I'm going to see if I can find a link down below, and I'll let you know if you can buy all those eyeshadows single. That'd be a lot of money, but if one or two eyeshadows, you know, really stood out to you if you wanted to invest in them. As far as Naked Smoky Palette goes, I think this is a nice palette. I don't think it's exceptional. I don't think it's run out and buy right now. I did want to get my hands on it though because I am an avid eyeshadow palette collector, especially in the Urban Decay Naked Smoky line. But yeah, overall, I prefer this palette. I think that even though there aren't as many eyeshadows, I feel like you can get more unique looks with this versus this one. You kind of end up with a gray smoky eye each time. So that is my review on both of these palettes, or comparison I should say, on these two palettes. Keep in mind, I'm not completely knocking the Naked Smoky palette. It does have some nice qualities, but it's not my favorite palette. So just, you know, don't want to upset anybody. So that is my comparison review video. I hope this was helpful, and definitely if you have any video requests, let me know down below, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye!